You're scrolling through a dating app. She's beautiful, genuinely beautiful, great smile, interesting bio. You're about to swipe right when you see it. Buried in the third photo, almost hidden, a kid, maybe 2 kids, and suddenly everything changes. Not because you're cruel, not because you hate children, but because you know instinctively that this swipe carries weight that other swipes don't. This isn't just dating. This is inheriting a situation, and you're not sure you want the inheritance. Most men have this moment. The hesitation, the calculation, the weighing of attraction against complication. And most men, if they're being honest, swipe left. Not always, but often. Often enough that single mothers report dramatically different dating experiences than childless women. Often enough that forums are filled with single mums asking why dating became so hard after they had kids. Today we're going to have the conversation nobody wants to have, honestly. What men actually think about dating single mothers. What the complications actually are. Not the sanitized version, not the ideological version, but the practical reality. Why many men avoid single mums, why some men don't, and what every man needs to understand before he steps into a situation that carries consequences most people don't discuss until it's too late. This isn't about attacking single mothers. Many are doing their best in difficult circumstances, but doing her best and being an ideal partner for you are different questions, and conflating them, which our culture constantly does, leads men into situations they didn't fully understand until they were already trapped. Let me start with the structural reality, what you're actually signing up for. When you date a woman without children, you're dating her. Her schedule, her priorities, her attention. These can flex around the relationship. Date night happens when you both want it. Spontaneous trips are possible. Her energy is available for building something with you. When you date a single mother, you're not just dating her, you're entering an existing system. A system with established priorities, fixed schedules, and non-negotiable demands. The children come first. This isn't opinion, it's biological and ethical reality. Any mother who doesn't prioritize her children over a new boyfriend is a mother you shouldn't want anyway. So you're entering a hierarchy where, by definition, you're not at the top. This sounds manageable in theory. In practice, it means something specific. Date night gets cancelled because the kid is sick. Weekends are consumed by soccer games, birthday parties, school events. Spontaneous anything becomes nearly impossible. Her attention is perpetually divided. When you're together, part of her is always thinking about them. When you're apart, her time is consumed by them. The relationship gets whatever's left over, and leftover is often not much. Men who've dated single mothers describe the same experience. You're squeezed into the margins. You get Tuesday evenings when the kids are at their dad's. You get Saturday afternoons if there's no conflict. You get her tired at the end of days that exhausted her before you even arrived. The vibrant, available woman you might have experienced if she were childless, that woman is distributed across obligations you'll never fully access. Now, some men are fine with this. Some men prefer a slower relationship pace. Some men have their own busy lives and appreciate a partner who isn't demanding constant attention. I'm not saying the arrangement can't work. I'm saying you need to understand what you're signing up for. The fantasy of dating a single mom, she's mature, she knows what she wants, she's past games, often collides with the reality of dating a single mum. She's exhausted, she's unavailable, and you're 4th or 5th on her priority list. Let me talk about the man who isn't there, because he's always present even when he's absent. She has a child with someone. That someone exists. He might be involved, which means he's in her life permanently. Co-parenting conversations, custody handoffs, his opinions about how his child is raised. He might be uninvolved, which raises its own questions. Why did she have a child with someone who would abandon it? Either way, the ghost of this relationship haunts anything you build. If he's involved, you're dealing with another man's presence in your relationship. He texts her about the kids. He comes to the house for pickups. He has opinions about schedules and activities that affect your plans. You have no authority in these discussions. They're about his kids with his ex, and you're just the new guy. Some men handle this well. Many find it emasculating to have another man's decisions constantly shaping their life. If he's uninvolved, why? What happened? Was he always unreliable and she chose him anyway? Which reflects her judgment. Did he become unreliable after the child arrived? Which suggests he wasn't who she thought. Did she push him out through conflict, weaponizing the child? Which tells you something about how she handles relationship difficulty. His absence doesn't mean his influence is gone. It means the story of why he's gone becomes something you need to understand. And here's the uncomfortable truth many men discover. She's often not fully over him, not in the romantic sense. Maybe she is. But in the emotional sense, he occupies space. He's the father of her children. Their faces remind her of him daily. Holidays involve navigating his existence. Every milestone for the child triggers some connection to the man she made the child with. You'll never be free of his shadow because the child is his shadow, and the child is permanent. Let me address the financial dimension, because this is where men's hesitation crystallizes. Dating a childless woman has one set of financial implications. You're potentially supporting one person. Your contributions benefit the relationship directly. The math is simple. Dating a single mother has different math. The child has needs: housing, food, education, activities, healthcare. Either these needs are being met by the biological father through child support or they're not. If they are, you're living in a situation subsidized by another man's money, which creates its own dynamics. If they're not, the expectation, spoken or unspoken, is that you'll contribute, not because you're obligated, but because you're there. And being there while the child lacks creates pressure to provide. Many men discover this gradually. The relationship progresses. They move in together, or she starts staying over frequently. The child's needs become visible. School supplies are expensive. Activities cost money. Medical bills arrive. And the man who thought he was dating a woman finds himself functioning as a provider for a family he didn't create. His resources flow to obligations he didn't generate, and if he objects, he's framed as callous, unwilling to help innocent children. This is the trap. The moral framing makes it nearly impossible to discuss without seeming cruel. The children are innocent, their needs are real. But acknowledging that doesn't change the math. You're being asked to fund someone else's choices. To provide for children you have no authority over. To take on financial responsibility without corresponding rights. Many men do this willingly. Many others feel trapped into it. The distinction matters. Let me talk about authority. Because this is where relationships with single mothers often break. In a traditional family, both parents have authority over children. They make decisions together. They enforce standards together. Discipline, values, and household rules are shared responsibilities with shared power. In a blended situation, you have responsibility without authority. You're expected to contribute time, money, emotional labor, but you don't get to make decisions. The children aren't yours. You can't discipline them without her permission, and often not even then. You can't set rules she doesn't agree with. You can't parent because you're not the parent. But you're also not allowed to be completely uninvolved because you're in the household. This creates an impossible position. If you try to establish authority, you're overstepping. You're not their father. If you remain hands-off, you're uninvested. You don't even care about my kids. If you criticize her parenting, you're attacking. If you stay silent while her parenting creates problems, you're complicit. There's no winning position. You're supposed to be involved enough to matter, but detached enough to know your place. Most men find this balance exhausting and eventually impossible. And here's what many men discover too late. The child often knows this dynamic. Children sense that their mother's boyfriend has no real authority. They test boundaries knowing there are no consequences. They drive wedges because children are attuned to household power structures. The man ends up in conflict with children who don't respect him, a mother who won't empower him, and a situation where he's losing even when he's trying to help. Let me discuss her standards, because this is where the mismatch becomes visible. After becoming mothers, many single women raise their standards for partners. They're no longer looking for excitement. They want stability, security, maturity, someone who can provide, someone who won't add chaos to an already chaotic life. This makes sense from her perspective. She has more to protect now. She can't afford to waste time on men who aren't serious. But here's the irony men notice. The standards she applies to new candidates are not the standards she applied to the baby's father. The father of her children might be a deadbeat, an abuser, an addict, or simply irresponsible. She chose him. She had children with him. And now she's looking at stable, responsible men with a checklist those men would have satisfied years ago. If she'd been selecting for those qualities then, this creates resentment. The stable man is supposed to meet standards that the exciting man was never held to. He's supposed to provide what she didn't require before. He's supposed to clean up a situation created by her previous choices while being grateful for the opportunity. Many men see this pattern and think, "You want from me what you didn't demand from him. Why should I provide premium value for a situation your own choices created?" And the standards themselves often seem mismatched to reality. She's a single mother, statistically a harder dating prospect for reasons we've discussed, but her requirements haven't adjusted to reflect her position. She wants a man who's tall, successful, emotionally available, ready to commit, and willing to embrace her children as his own. This man exists. He typically selects women without these complications. The intersection of meets her new standards and willing to accept her situation is smaller than she believes. Let me address the dating market reality, because this is where the math gets harsh. High-value men have options. By definition, that's what high value means. Other people want them. And when a man has options, he evaluates them. He compares. He weighs pros and cons. And a single mother, however wonderful individually, carries complications that childless women don't. Put yourself in his position. Option A. An attractive woman without children. Flexible schedule. Full attention available. No ex in the picture. No financial obligations to non-existent dependents. Relationship can develop on its own terms. Option B. An attractive woman with children. Limited schedule. Divided attention. Ex-partner permanently present. Implicit financial obligations. Relationship constrained by existing family structure. If both women are equally attractive, why would he choose option B? He wouldn't. Not unless option B offers something option A doesn't. Exceptional compatibility, shared values that matter more than convenience, some quality that outweighs the structural disadvantages. Such cases exist, but they're the exception, not the rule. The rule is that men with options select for simplicity, and single mothers are structurally complicated. This is why single mothers often end up dating men who lack options, men who can't attract childless women, men who settle for what's available rather than selecting what's ideal. This isn't flattering to acknowledge, but it's the market reality. The men who enthusiastically pursue single mothers are often men who couldn't compete for women without that complication. And a woman who settles for a man who settled for her is building on a foundation of mutual compromise rather than mutual selection. Let me talk about risk. Because men evaluate risk even when they don't articulate it. Dating a single mother is statistically riskier than dating a childless woman. Not because single mothers are bad people, but because the situation contains more variables, more complications, more potential points of failure. Divorce rates for second marriages are higher than first marriages. When children from previous relationships are involved, the rates increase further. The blended family structure creates stresses that nuclear families don't face. Loyalty conflicts, authority disputes, resource competition. These aren't character flaws, they're structural features of the arrangement. More moving parts means more potential for breakdown, and if the relationship fails, the stakes are different. If you've bonded with her children, which you're supposed to, which makes you a good partner, you lose them completely when the relationship ends. You have no rights, no visitation. You might have functioned as a father figure for years, but legally and practically, you're nothing. The children you invested in, loved, helped raise, gone. Because they were never yours, and the relationship with their mother was the only connection you had. Men sense this risk even when they can't articulate it. The gut hesitation when seeing kids in the profile, the reluctance that can't quite be explained, it's pattern recognition, the brain detecting that this path contains hazards other paths don't. Smart men trust that hesitation. Men who override it often discover why it was there. Let me address the behavioral patterns, because history matters. How did she become a single mother? This question matters, though asking it is considered rude. The circumstances reveal something about her, her judgment, her choices, her relationship patterns. If she chose a man who was obviously problematic, abusive, addicted, irresponsible, that tells you about her selection criteria. She was attracted to something that should have repelled. Her judgment was poor. What evidence do you have that her judgment has improved? That she's not attracted to the same qualities now packaged in a different wrapper? If she chose a man who seemed fine and he changed, became abusive, abandoned the family, revealed hidden flaws, that's more sympathetic but still informative. Relationships require evaluation. Red flags usually exist in hindsight that could have been seen in foresight. What did she miss? Why? has she developed the discernment she lacked? If she became pregnant unintentionally, the condom broke, birth control failed, and the relationship couldn't survive the stress, that's different. But it still raises questions about planning, about the relationship's strength, about the decision-making that led to parenthood under unstable circumstances. The point isn't to condemn. Many single mothers had situations genuinely outside their control, but many others made choices that created their circumstances. And when you date someone, you inherit the consequences of their choices. Understanding what choices she made and what those choices reveal about her is essential information, not judgmental cruelty. Let me talk about what men experience, because the pattern is consistent. He meets her. She's great. The kids seem manageable. He doesn't see them much initially. The relationship develops. It feels real. Then the complications begin. Schedule conflicts. The ex creates drama. The kids don't warm to him. He's spending money on a household that isn't really his. He's investing emotionally in children who might be taken away. He's trying to navigate a role that doesn't have clear boundaries. He's exhausted by a situation that seems simpler from the outside. He raises concerns. She gets defensive. My children will always come first. If you can't handle this, you're not the man I thought you were. I need someone who accepts my whole life. The framing puts him in the wrong for having concerns. His legitimate hesitations become evidence of inadequacy. The relationship becomes a test he's constantly failing. Eventually something breaks. Maybe he leaves, tired of being fourth priority. Maybe she leaves, disappointed that he couldn't meet expectations that were never clearly stated. Maybe they stay together, but the connection erodes under the weight of complications that never resolve. The outcome isn't universal, some relationships work, but the pattern is common enough that men recognize it in each other's stories. Let me discuss what women are told, because bad advice creates bad expectations. Women give each other advice that often makes them less appealing to men. A real man will love your children as his own. You deserve someone who accepts your whole package. Don't lower your standards just because you have kids. The right man won't care about your situation. This advice sounds empowering. It also ignores male psychology and market reality. A real man evaluates situations based on risk and benefit. Deserving something doesn't mean the market provides it. Standards untethered from market position produce frustration. The right man absolutely does consider her situation, because ignoring relevant information is stupid. The effect of this advice is to set single mothers up for disappointment. They enter the dating market with expectations calibrated to what they want rather than what's available. They reject men who don't meet standards they can no longer realistically enforce. They wait for a prince who has no reason to choose complications over simplicity. And they age, frustrated, wondering why the right man never appeared. The advice that would actually help: be realistic about your market position. Understand what you're asking men to accept. Offer value that compensates for the complications. Select for men who genuinely want what you have rather than men you're trying to convince. This advice is less flattering but more effective. It's rarely given because effectiveness matters less than emotional comfort. Let me talk about when it can work. Because I'm not saying never. Some men genuinely want families and don't have children of their own. For them, a single mother might be a path to fatherhood they couldn't achieve otherwise. The children aren't a bug, they're a feature. These men exist. They're not the majority, but they exist. Some situations are genuinely better than others. A single mother whose ex is completely absent. No drama, no custody battles, no conflict. A single mother with older, nearly independent children. Less disruption, more flexibility. A single mother who has processed her past, made peace with her choices, and isn't carrying active trauma into new relationships. These variations matter. Not all single mothers are equivalent. Some men are at life stages where the complications matter less. They're established. They have resources. They're looking for companionship more than building a fresh start. For these men, the structural disadvantages weigh less heavily because they're not trying to build something that requires maximum flexibility. And some connections are strong enough to overcome structural disadvantages. Chemistry that's undeniable, compatibility that's rare, shared values that matter more than logistics. These connections exist. They're the exception. Most connections aren't strong enough to overcome significant obstacles, but exceptions happen. The key is understanding what you're choosing, not stumbling into it. not being convinced it's simpler than it is, not discovering the complications after you're already invested. If you choose a single mother with full knowledge of what you're accepting, that's informed consent. If you discover what you've accepted only after you're trapped, that's something else entirely. Let me give specific guidance for men considering this path. First, understand why you're considering it. Are you attracted to her specifically, and the children are something you're willing to accept? Or are you settling because you feel you can't attract childless women? The first is potentially valid. The second is a foundation for resentment. Know which situation you're in. Second, investigate her history honestly. How did she become a single mother? What was she attracted to in the father? What patterns has she shown in relationships? This isn't judgment, it's due diligence. You're potentially investing years of your life. You deserve accurate information about what you're investing in. Third, be realistic about your position. You will not be the priority. You will have responsibility without authority. You will fund a situation you didn't create. You will navigate another man's presence in your life. You will bond with children you have no rights to. If you can't accept these realities, don't proceed. Fourth, protect yourself legally and financially. Don't move in too fast. Don't combine finances prematurely. Don't take on obligations you can't exit. Don't let emotional investment outpace practical protection. The relationship might end. Plan accordingly. Fifth, evaluate her attitude. Does she acknowledge the complications? Does she appreciate what you're accepting? Or does she act entitled to your investment while minimizing what it costs you? Her attitude toward your sacrifice tells you whether she's a partner or an extractor. Partners appreciate, extractors demand. Let me close with the frame I want you to hold. The single mother trap isn't that single mothers are bad people. Many are doing heroic work in difficult circumstances. The trap is the gap between expectation and reality. The expectation, promoted by culture, by other women, by her own hopes, is that a good man should accept her situation without hesitation and provide without complaint. The reality is that her situation carries genuine costs, genuine complications, and genuine risks that men are rational to evaluate. When a man evaluates those costs and decides to proceed, with full information, clear eyes, and genuine acceptance of what he's choosing, that's fine. He's making an informed decision. He might build something beautiful. Some do. When a man stumbles into it, attracted but uninformed, hopeful but unrealistic, trusting but unprotected, he's not making a decision. He's falling into a trap. He'll discover the costs only after he's already committed, already bonded, already invested. At that point the trap closes. Leaving means abandoning children he's come to love and a woman he committed to. Staying means accepting a situation he never fully chose. Every man must know what he's getting into. That's the only protection. Not avoiding single mothers categorically, though many men reasonably do, but understanding exactly what the situation entails before stepping into it. The trap catches men who don't understand. It doesn't catch men who do. For now, tell me in the comments. Have you dated a single mother? What was your experience? What do you wish you'd known beforehand? Share the pattern, not to condemn, but to inform the men who come after you. That's it for today. Understand the situation before you enter it. Protect yourself while you're in it. And remember, the trap only works on men who don't know it's there.